Here we are. We're doing our lightning finalists of the year for lightning photo of the year. Congrats if you made it this far. We have some spectacular lightning shots, and Mike obviously hasn't been here for most of these critiques or any of them so far, except for this round. So he can't possibly say anything negative about your photo because you're all finalists, but he'll try. Just kidding. But we're going to go through these. Congratulations if you made it this far. This one is by, we don't always say names because we're just kind of going through them, but Gary Hirshorn took this one, and he always enters some spectacular photo from Manhattan in New York every year of lightning, either hitting the World Trade Center or upward lightning like this coming off it. And Mike, what do you think of this image?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, all these shots are ones that you're like, I wish I had that shot. Upward lightning coming off of the Freedom Tower, pretty darn rad. The thing that I do appreciate, put the moment aside, what I appreciate is the crop and the composition here, including some of, I think that's Queens over there in the frame, to just kind of continue the scale off, because you have that lightning bolt that kind of pulls you, the crawler pulls you kind of off to the right there, and it's leading you off the frame. So you got to have something to balance it out, and it works really, really nicely there. I also love just the way that the lightning's reflecting in the water. The highlights seem to be pretty well managed here. It's hard to tell on a smaller screen, but just be there and once again anticipate these moments. Props for that. And I know that these aren't necessarily the cleanest of storms, so they're probably getting a little rain on them as well. I mean, it's really well done. I don't see anything right off the bat that I could crush dreams with, so sorry to crush your dream, Mike.
Say something negative. There's
okay, negative. It's not my shot. There we go.
That's exactly. That's what I think. And I don't live near Manhattan, and I can't get shots like this. That's the negative. That's all I can think about. Also, the negative is I wasn't here at White Sands when everybody else was apparently getting epic shots. And I don't even know if this is the same day as the other shot we saw from Timbaka and other categories, but this one there's just something special about this one. Jen, I think we probably talked about this one. I don't remember what you had to say about it, but
I think my favorite thing about this image are the tones. It's a little more brown than that Timbaka shot. You get a little bit more of that dusty, sand in your teeth feeling. But it gives you a feeling, and I really love that. And also, it's just a beautiful lightning shot. I might have cropped this one a little bit more, but I appreciate, the attention to foreground, background, all of those elements in there. The texture is really pretty.
Yeah, I think Jen kind of go off the crop. It almost looks kind of almost like a 4x3 in a way. So maybe kind of going a little more 2x3 ish. But what I love the tones. But what I really, really like here is the layers. You have depth here, which is really, really nice. And then this, just like you mentioned, like the grit in your teeth kind of feel to it. I mean, this is one that if I were to ever walk away with one shot from White Sands and I got this, I don't think I'd ever have to turn around and go back. And also props too on the exposure / the editing to maintain the highlight of the bolt through the highlights of the ambient daylight there. That's often difficult, right?
Very difficult.
A really, really nice balance there and really well done.
Yeah, the layers is such a great point, because you've got the foreground and you've got this distance, and then the bolt lands in front of the mountain, so it didn't just land behind it or whatever. And also just a spectacular bolt to get with all kinds of branchy filaments that make it even better, because we all know we've seen plenty of stick bolts that would be fine, but the branchiness of this one is just ridiculous. All right, we'll go on to this one, and a great huge lightning bolt and obviously this person set up with these windmills and turbines in mind, hopefully getting a bolt to land in there somewhere, and kudos to them for taking this risk. Mikey.
Yeah, what I want to know here is, was this shot vertically or was this shot horizontally then cropped in? Because I mean, it's a fantastic shot, but even more props if it was intentionally shot like vertically. to say, you know what, I'm going to really narrow down my window to catch the bolt. It does look a little bit less than 2x3, so I'm thinking it was horizontal, then cropped in. But really, really nice. Obviously, great bolt. I love the placement of the windmills. And what I mean by that is if they had stood, 20, 30 feet to the left, they're going to cover up that windmill in the back with the windmill that's in the foreground. So having that nice separation also gives you nice depth. Really, yeah, just great shot here. The only critique I would give maybe is to crop in a little bit from the left side, and that kind of negative space in the top left corner from the cloud there. Crop that out a little bit, because once again, corners are so important. Once you kind of grab onto that, you can't not necessarily unsee it. So that's the only constructive criticism I have there.
Well done, Mike. All right, we'll go to this one, which is another jealousy-inducing shot, and you can zoom in and just see that it hit the top of that specific house and lit up everything around it. And there's a guy over here driving, I don't know when it was, but probably to work or something in the morning, who crapped their pants probably in the car and had to go back and take another shower. Just kidding. All right. So, Mike, what do you think about this? Where that came from?
I don't know how to follow that comment, man. Yeah, I mean, let's just be real here. This is epic. The bolt's perfect. The filaments is fantastic. It's not even close to being overexposed in the highlights anywhere. Seeing that ambient light, that light bleed coming off of the landing point and then going to the houses is fantastic. The sky, I mean, it's processed so well. And just to give a major high five to whoever shot this, you were out of your freaking mind for standing on top of a hill / mountain, whatever this may be, with bolts like this dropping down and shooting that close. It's a wonderful photo. It's really, really hard to kind of pick out anything about it that is negative. The only thing is maybe take a radial filter or luminosity mask to those lights that are left side, kind of 2/3 of the way down back there. Tone those down just a little bit, because they do, once you start seeing them, they compete with the lightning a bit for like luminance values. So kind of toning that down, you take like a radial filter, pull the highlights down a little bit there to kind of tone that down just a smidge. But
the only other thing I would notice, I mean, that's one of those kind of like easy things to fix in Lightroom, is some of this fringing around the bolt up top. Is a quick checkbox sometimes in Lightroom to get rid of some of that fringing, and that just, you can kind of see it when you're looking wide on your image like this and you see some of the purple around it. That's something that you can probably get rid of pretty easy. But it didn't ruin this for me at all.
No, and the other thing that I love, I'm going to try and speak over the PA lady. The other thing that I love about it that you don't really appreciate until you zoom in is you see the raindrops illuminated as well. If you scroll up, like seeing that's when you know it is a close bolt, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big one right there. Yeah, this person was either hiding behind their car in a little bit of a shelter, shooting and just praying to God that they got something landing there.
There's a saying for bolts like this. It's when you
Widowmakers.
Can't get that, and you can't get a toothpick between my butt cheeks. And I'm going to mute myself again.
All right, yeah, mute yourself the rest of the whole critique video. All right, we'll go on to the next one. And I know Jen and I talked about this one. It's a spectacular lightning shot, and this was Phoenix. So I'm very proud that this guy, Kyle Benet, who's a friend of mine, that he caught this probably from his stinking balcony of where he lives or something stupid like that, which is frustrating while I was out working hard chasing Kyle. I'm just kidding. This bolt is absolutely spectacular. And one thing I like about it is you can see where the rain is coming out the back, and that's generally where you probably assume a lightning bolt is going to happen. And then this thing decided to come out way up top, which is a negative bolt that I've learned from Jen this month. And Mike, what do you think about this one?
I'm allowed to unmute.
Yeah, I guess so. No more butt cheek comments.
Yeah. So no, I mean, one, the bolt's just a zinger, to say the least. I appreciate the scale again, and I mean, it's really well technically done. Only thing, once again, small crop, get those two big lights that are in the bottom right corner off the frame. So, first thing I do whenever I'm critiquing or judging or whatever it may be is scan the edges of the frame. If there's anything that's bright or just seems off that kind of gets you, do your best to kind of crop that, or possibly content aware fill if your ethics allow that. But yeah, that's kind of where I would go with this image. I mean, beautiful shot, and even more jealousy if they did shoot this off the balcony.
Yeah. Okay, we have talked about this one quite a bit. We all love it. It's amazing. The crop's amazing. The composition's amazing. Everything about it's amazing. So I don't know what else to say about it other than, Maxime, we all hate you for wherever you live and the fact that you can get shots like this. And and that was said with love. So I know Mike talked about this one as well. So we'll go on to this one and let Mike talk about these two ship rock photos, one after another. Quite possibly, I think, the same upward bolt from just completely different angles on this storm. So Mike, have you ever been here, and have you ever gotten upward lightning?
I have. Yeah. Yep. And then I woke up. Yeah, no, been to Shiprock. Never with upward light. Never actually with a raindrop. I mean, one, to just once again think about, hey, I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna go to Shiprock and I'm gonna set up shop and see what happens. It's such a small area, really. So to say I'm going to roll the dice and hope a storm comes over that exact path is, props to you for having that patience and that drive to do so. To get a bolt, period, anywhere in that frame is great. To get upward lightning striking Shiprock is okay. Cool, very cool. This shot here, I love the fact that you see the bolt just kind of spreading out through the sky. You're seeing Shiprock for scale, right? And you have just this wonderful angle where the light is kind of skimming across the top of Shiprock. They're kind of pulling out the details of it as well. I also love it because it's a volcano and storm, two of my favorite things together. So, yes. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic shot here. The only thing that I see on this image here that I may be interested in knowing if it's even possible with, the dynamic range of the camera is maybe pulling up a little bit of that foreground, that landscape there. I can't tell if it's just blacked out or if there is something there.
You can on my computer, I can see some like grass or brown field there, so it's not crushed completely. There is something there, but it's definitely pretty dark.
Pretty dark. Yeah, maybe just pull it up, the shadows up just a little bit, just to help kind of recover that a smidge there. So that would be my feedback here.
One thing, and this isn't even a critique or anything. It's just if I have these kind of features like a cliff face or a ship rock with sharp rock, I like to do some, even like, I don't like to use a clarity tool. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but you can create a layer in Photoshop and use clarity and then just brush in a little bit of that clarity in certain places like the rocks, or do some sharpening to really kind of just a little bit enhance the gorgeousness of this place. And I've done, that's just something to add a little bit, because this is such a beautiful thing, and you can pop a little bit of the features with just some little bit of, kind of sharpening or just detail work, which, this is just such a spectacular shot. You probably don't need it, but when I zoom in, it's just a tad soft looking. And so it could maybe work there a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say another technique you could do there is, you can mess around with some of the mid-tone contrast, whether it's your texture, clarity, dehaze. But you can also come in here and do some localized kind of dodging to kind of help bring out the highlights that are on the rock faces there. But do it with intent, right? Do it where the light is hitting, not where the light isn't hitting. And that can help kind of sculpt that region there a bit more.
Yeah. This one it's just kind of interesting because lightning and how your camera interprets it can be like a really, a lot of times we have our camera set to kind of auto white balance, sometimes, you know, you might shoot in Kelvin, but a lot of times we're just like, whatever, let the camera do it and I can fix it later. But your camera can interpret lightning as being purple, and then sometimes it can be blue, or you fix it in post because you're like, hey, it was really kind of blue there. It wasn't actually purple. So these are, you know, from completely different angles on this storm. I've got to think it's almost on the opposite side of it somehow. And different color palette, different kind of lighting, a lot closer. Mike, what do you think of this? I do want to say, and I haven't looked at the raw files yet, although we did get a bunch in for the finalists, that this was by Jake Worth, and he's a fantastic photographer. His work is always blowing my mind. But he did have to do, I think, raindrops or something. He had to fix the lightning bolt a little bit with some content aware to get it to get fixed there. I believe because of like a raindrop on the lens or something like that. So
yeah, so no, the previous shot was shot from the east side of Shiprock. The shot looks like it's on the west, kind of, I think, west or northwest, I believe it is, area. So yeah, I mean, Jake shot. What I love about this is the structure. I mean, the bolt's great. I love the structure of the landscape. It's a way more dynamic landscape. The way that light is kind of skimming across, you know, brighter obviously further away where the bolt is, a little bit darker closer to you, so you're getting depth throughout the field. The bolt is fantastic, and you know, raindrops happen, so it looks like it's cleaned up nicely. You know, highlights maybe a little bit smidged down if possible. If not, Jake, go back there next year and try to replicate this shot. Which, I mean, what a moment. And, you know, that's such a, but, you know, to both the photographers, props, because it's such a hard shot to anticipate with your settings, because you have no idea how dinky or how powerful that bolt may be. And, you know, when obviously I think Jake was much closer. You know, not necessarily expecting this kind of like eye scorcher. It's hard. So, well, classic shot.
Judging from the settings, which you brought up, which is a very good point, I don't know that they were necessarily expecting this, because the settings on this say f3.2, pretty wide open, and ISO 250. So it might have been a lot of flashy in-cloud bolts that are lighting it up. And, you know, when you're there and you're not getting any actual cloud to ground, probably really easy to just go, hey, I'm at least going to get Shiprock lit up by light, and that'll be really cool. And then suddenly this freaking upward bolt comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh crap. So that's probably what happened here. So
that's the risk you got to take with lightning, is you have no idea what you're going to get, right? So with a lower aperture like that, maybe he's guaranteeing some sort of crawler in the sky above Shiprock with Shiprock illuminated, and then all of a sudden you get this scorcher, right?
Yep. Okay, we'll go on to we got two more to go. And Jen, I'm going to let you talk about this one, because I think you did like the colors and stuff in this one.
Yeah, we talk about depth and balance, and I like both of those elements in this shot. You know, the arching of the bolt, and then there's the arching in the road, the top of the frame and the bottom of the frame. Again, I also like the balance of the warmth of the city lights and the blue, sort of those blue stormy tones. And it's a gorgeous bolt. You see the point of origin, everything's well controlled. There's a lot to love in this image. So I'm really happy it made it to the finals.
So yeah, no, I agree with Jen. I think there's a lot of good going on compositionally here. And, you know, you've got the balance between the bolt and the car trails. You've got the warm and cool tones. You've got the dark to light. There's a lot of good flow in the frame here. You know, the only thing that gets me a little bit is just how close the right side of the highway is to the edge of the frame. Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier to say this when you're critiquing, like, oh, I would have just scooted over just a little bit. We have no idea what was there, right? Yeah. But if that opportunity was there to kind of pan the camera just a smidge to the right, or maybe go just a little bit wider to where that leading line isn't coming directly out of the corner, that's the only improvement I have. But I mean, the bolt's great, and I love the fact that you can see the point of origin with the bolts. And I mean, to see it striking the ocean like that, that's a chef's kiss there.
Yeah, something I don't get to see a lot living in Arizona in the desert. So
not many oceans,
but not many oceans, just oceans of dirt. All right, we'll go to our last one, which we have seen multiple times now. Brett decided to be widespread with his entries, which was great. So, but we all obviously love this image. Mike, well, Jen, you haven't said a lot during this critique because we're letting Mike talk a lot because
Yes.
Mike hasn't been around very much, and so we're kind of letting him take point on a lot of these. But
Yes.
I love what Jen has to say about almost all these images. So I'm going to let you just say something about this, please.
Yeah, top to bottom, it's beautiful. There's a lot of intention in this image, and there's a lot of control from it's like start to finish in the way that it was set up, in the way that it was shot. It's very clear, and the editing. So all of those things work together for a really strong image. But compositionally, those three trees are three little magical buddies down there. I loved how Mike was saying that they're, like they're so evenly spaced. I mean, we don't have control over where these trees are planted, but to see it, to set it up, and then to get so lucky with that bolt. I don't even mind that filament touching the first tree. I feel like it's a storytelling image, and you could make up all kinds of things about it. They're little characters, the character of the storm, the character of the trees, and the setting. So I couldn't say enough good things, and the colors are stunning as well. So overall, well done to Brett on this photograph.
Mike, final word.
Yeah, I actually don't like the tree. No, I'm just kidding. I like the trees.
Take it back. I've changed my mind.
Yeah, and he's muted again. No, the trees are fantastic, and I don't want to say the trees make the image, but they're such a big part of the image here for scale, for symmetry, for balance, and once again for the intent and decision to shoot from this spot here, because not even a mile, call it a couple hundred feet one way or the other. These trees are not spaced out in the way they are. So there's a reason that they set up right here. To have the storm cooperate, kind of perfectly balanced over the trees, that's fantastic. The bolt to cooperate and come out in front of everything, that's fantastic. And the control to shoot this in a way where you're not blowing out those highlights with the contact points in the clouds is great. I mean, I think this is Brett's, right?
Yeah, it's Brett's.
I know Brett and Nina had one. You say that. No.
Yeah, well, I kind of unfriended him after I saw these shots, so I haven't really talked to him in a year. So just kidding. Yeah,
but yeah, no, I think it was done as perfect as you can do this scene. So props to Brett on this one.
Yeah, and I think that the balance, the technical balance, like you said, the control about the highlights, but also to not get a lot of movement in the supercell, but also a long enough exposure to catch the lightning can also be tricky. So kudos to that. And kudos to the top 10 for making it this far, and good luck on Thursday. I can't wait to see who wins.